John D. Hurth is a retired U.S. Army Special Forces soldier who was awarded the Bronze Star. He is currently president of and chief instructor of the Tier Group, and he wrote this combat tracking guide that we have little by little been working through. And today, we are going to learn about how to estimate the rate of movement, or how fast somebody is going that you've been tracking. If you've been keeping up with the previous live streams and videos, we have learned all kinds of things like how to count their paces, how to figure out how many people there are in a group that you've been tracking, how to identify individuals,
and what their footprint says about them, the phases of a footstep, how to check.
Just so many different things that we've learned. To do this, measure the rate of the length of one stride from the rear end of the heel of the first key print to the rear edge of the heel of the opposite key print. If you don't remember, a key print is the kind of unusual and obvious footstep, like maybe somebody who's got a weird wear pattern in their shoe or something like that. It's an obvious footprint that you use to help you track and understand the whole group. So you find the first key print, so maybe their right footprint, to the rear edge of the heel of their next heel, basically from heel to heel. I don't know why he says it in such a confusing way. Basically, find a definable, obvious footprint and measure from one heel of one foot to the other heel of the other foot. Easy enough, right? Most people's average walking step length is 30 inches. If the track shows prints that are greater distance apart than the normal walking step, then the quarry is likely jogging or running. Keep in mind that the quarry's height will affect his stride. A 6-foot-tall man's stride while walking will be longer than that of a 5.5-foot-tall man. And for those of you who feel uncomfortable by the term quarry, obviously this guy's goal in tracking people is because he's trying to track people and kill them. There's so many applications of this kind of skill for search and rescue, for law enforcement type protocols. There's a lot of different ways where you might want to find somebody, and I think it's a phenomenal super skill to learn. And once we get into an area where I have woods, we're going to actually practice and do some of this stuff together, and it's going to be awesome. But for now, we're learning. Additionally, if the impressions with the ball and toe of a foot are pronounced, there is scuffed earth to the rear and front of the impressions, then the quarry has increased his speed. So in other words, if they're walking so their foot is jabbing down into the earth and you can see a very clear ball and toe of the foot, but the back of the footprint is there's like dirt thrown up, that's obviously they've been going faster. As well, ground signs such as forcefully broken twigs, torn and twisted vegetation, branches roughly pushed aside, and young vegetation that's crushed, flattened, or bruised will indicate that the quarry is moving quickly. You could probably calculate their actual speed based on this information. He doesn't put this here, but if you know how fast a person goes who is walking, which the average walking step length is 30 inches, average walking speed is 3 to 4 miles an hour. You can also determine if a load is being carried. If the sign the tracker is following appears to be deep and the stride is shorter than normal, the quarry may be carrying something weighty, such as a backpack. If good impressions can be identified, the tracker can create his own impression next to the quarry's and compare the depths of the two. I know when I was rucking, that I could go probably about 20 miles a day. It was uncomfortable, and that would be kind of pushing it, but that would be walking, carrying a heavy load, right? Other clues can help determine if the quarry is carrying a heavy load. The heavier load, the less spring in the step, so full footprints will be observed rather than partial impressions. The distance between steps, as well as the stride width, will be shorter than those of someone who isn't carrying weight. There will be a greater number of full print impressions made, and the heel will be very obvious. He kind of already said that. The quarry will take a deliberate approach to crossing or negotiating obstacles, which is kind of a vague way to say it, but basically if you see that footprints go around things that you would think they could otherwise step over, right? That's basically what the person is saying, or seems to be saying anyway. I'm not in love with his writing style. It's not the most clear, concise, and direct. When the track leads up or down a hill or embankment, the quarry carrying a load will take greater care placing his feet in order to keep his balance. He will also likely use multiple handholds to help him up or down. That's really cool. That makes sense. It's not something I would have thought of. The width and amount of shoulder-high vegetation disturbance will indicate if a quarry is carrying a load. The load will catch on vegetation and cause leaves to be stripped from branches and vines to be pulled in the direction of movement. Where the quarry takes a break, he might set down what he is carrying, and the object may flatten dirt and vegetation. If the ground is soft enough, the weight of the object might leave an identifiable impression. I think that's fascinating, don't you? There's so kinds of... it's just so interesting. So many interesting things. And with that, we're actually pretty much done with this chapter.